How's it going, everyone? It's a brisk fall day here in the Pacific Northwest, and we're going to be test riding the Senada Saber Plus. The Senada Saber Plus comes with a 1,000 watt rear motor and a 21 amp hour battery capable of up to 80 miles of range. It has hydraulic disc brakes, 26 by 4 inch tires, and a Shimano 7-speed gearing system. Priced at $1,200, it has all the bells and whistles you want for a hybrid bike like this. The company has told me that this bike is capable of a little bit of off-roading and is a great city commuter. Let's take it for a ride and see if that's the case. All right. We're out here at a place called Indian Canyon. There's like a waterfall out here called Mystic Falls that we're gonna go through. So I figured we'd start off the day with this review on some like kind of sandy, rocky pathways, a little bit of off-roading because they do say that this bike is for off-roading a little bit. We'll kind of get a review of how it kind of handles with that, how it can kind of hill climb, stuff like that, and then we'll end up on some paved trails. Yeah, let's just rip on some of these pathways here. I definitely say for this sort of like trail riding, very tolerable. I mean, but this is like almost like concrete. In some ways it's probably a little bit smoother since dirt is a little bit, you can kind of ride over. It's a little smoother to ride on anyways when it's flat than, you know, paved roads. So all in all, not too bad yet. This is a nice place. It's only like 10 minutes away from my house, so very convenient. And then you know, I think it's just kind of some genuine like fun riding out here. So we're on the tail end of fall, late October. The frost kind of came in and knocked all the leaves off the trees. We're gonna end up going down to the right there, but let's go this way a little bit first. This is a little bit more bumpy and kind of like, you know, a little bit more like some trails that you might come across, you know, in the forest and stuff. So, you know, riding across some of this, definitely a little bit bumpy, but that's kind of to be expected, like I said, when it only has one form of suspension. So, you know, obviously if you stand up and ride kind of like this, then it's going to be a lot less bumpy. I do like this bike in the way that it is very maneuverable. The other bike that I reviewed of theirs, the Archon, was very similar. Kind of felt like your standard bike that, you know, I grew up riding. So definitely a lot more maneuverable. Yeah, this is great. Yeah, being priced at $1,200, you know, this bike definitely has a lot of good bells and whistles. Like you have the horn over here, which is nice, you know, for getting around town, which I think is kind of the main priority of this bike, is being more of like a city bike. You can kind of ride around and do stuff like that downtown. It's a good commuter bike. You know, it has kind of like all the bells and whistles. The only thing that's like a little bit weird too is on the right side here, they have this, you know, the engine cutoff where like basically when you hit that, the engine's not going to work at all. I say engine, but I mean motor. It's a little weird. I could see how, you know, it might be nice to be able to have that. Like if you're loading the bike and you really don't want the motor to go off, or, you know, whatever, you just want to sit there and you don't want to have to deal with that. Or I guess if you wanted to pedal the bike for whatever reason, you know, and not use the motors, then, you know, at all, and guarantee you're not using them, then you could do that instead of switching it into like pedal assist 0 or something. But definitely kind of a niche button. I had another bike for a little while that kind of had the same feature, and I can't say I was a huge fan of it. I never really used it, but you know, you'd hit it on accident, you'd be like, why isn't my bike going? But, you know, over time you kind of get used to that, I guess, and you just know like, oh, I must have hit the button. But anyway, yeah, great bike all around. I definitely like that they have a headlight on it. It's turn signals, it's great. Hello. It's a pretty well walked pathway out here. Yeah, I'd say overall, you know, being able to do some off-roading a little bit. This is very casual off-roading. It's pretty good. Honestly, it's very much like the Archon that I rode earlier. So if you've seen that review, I do think it'd be able to handle a lot, you know, very similar things. It's, you know, I don't think the company intended it this way, but I do feel like this bike is very similar to that one in a lot of ways, in both the power and then the battery and all that sort of stuff. Oop, gotta watch out for this car. But I do think that this one, you know, kind of has more of a sleek look, and definitely seems like it's more of a, you know, it could be a city bike, a pretty good city bike. We're gonna go up this hill. We're on pedal assist 5. I'm just gonna let the motors kind of do their thing. We're peaking out right now. It says 1200 watts, which is the peak for this bike. And it's, you know, we're going 23 kilometers an hour. I forgot to switch that over to miles an hour, but, you know, pretty decent. Not having to ride at all going up this hill. It's a pretty steep hill. You know, if you're from like San Francisco or something, it's definitely not one of those hills, but I'd say in my area, this is one of the steeper grades you'd kind of run into. Definitely something where, you know, pedaling is going to help it out a lot. especially you know, if you want to go long distance, pedaling is always great. So you know, I've had some 20 amp hour batteries where, you know, I rode maybe 30-40 miles like of this sort of stuff where you're up and down and all around the place. So it definitely can be done. You know, a lot of bikes, like even with this bike, they say you can get up to 80 miles on a single charge. You know, I think if you're riding in pedal assist 1 or 2, you know, in their eco mode on perfectly flat ground, you know, and you're helping out the bike a good amount, you might be able to see 60 or 70 miles. But doing stuff like this, yeah, there's really no way you'd get that kind of range. But that's to kind of be expected. You know, the more you use the motor, the more you rely on it, the less distance you can go. But all right, we're gonna go over here to the right. Lots of potholes on the way here, but we'll test out that suspension a little bit. I wanted to come right up here because there's a nice flat pathway, so we can kind of do a top speed check and everything like that. We're gonna do a complete standstill. I'm not gonna ride the bike at all. It's pretty flat through here, and then it kind of goes uphill, and then it'll be flat again. So we'll kind of see what the top speed is there. All right, so we have to hit 48.28 kilometers per hour, basically 50 essentially to hit 30 miles an hour. So we'll just kind of see what this bike tops out at. I'd imagine, like I said, it'd be right around there. Let's check it out here. Complete standstill. All right, we're at 20 kilometers an hour, 25, 30, 35, just about 40. We're going uphill a little bit. Yeah. Hello. All right, we're up to 40 kilometers an hour, 42. All right, looks like, oh, 44, probably 45. All right, now we're back at the gate again. All right, so I think I saw 46 there for a second, so pretty darn close to that 30 mile an hour mark. But yeah, I mean, just like you'd expect, road riding, I mean, this bike is fantastic. We already went up a pretty steep stretch, so we got to kind of test that out, and you know, we kind of confirm that, you know, it kind of does what they say it does, and does kind of all the things that you need it to do. I mean, it's a pretty standard bike all around. I think that most of the parts and most of the you know, specs on this bike are, you know, right down the middle of the lane. That's nothing like insane in any way. You know, you don't have a crazy motor, you don't have a crazy you know, battery, but I will say that all the you know, the parts are really nice quality. You do get great quality out of these bikes, I will say, because I definitely tested some where they'll say it's a 1,000-watt motor, and it definitely does not feel like that, or, you know, the parts just don't really feel great. The suspension is kind of crappy, but this bike is great all around. I mean, I'd say, you know, it definitely is like a great hybrid bike if you want to do some off-roading here and there, some forest roads. You know, it's great. I'll say the hydraulic brakes definitely are a nice touch. I've used mechanical on a few bikes, and I just think that hydraulic is just the way to go. I mean, there's really no reason why e-bike companies shouldn't be putting hydraulic brakes on their bikes. Yeah, I mean, like I said before, this bike really has it all that you're kind of looking for, especially for road riding. You know, you got the turn signals over here. That's a fantastic addition. I love that they have a horn. You know, a lot of bikes, when they don't have a horn, I just feel like they just really need to have one. I mean, it probably costs them like, you know, $5-10 at the most to put a horn on a bike. So, you know, I just think it should really be standard. But yeah, this bike has all your standard parts. You know, they're all great quality. That's what I love the most about it. But yeah, I think for the price point, this bike is amazing. If you want to plan on doing just a lot of, you know, city riding and some off-road riding, you know, or you want to do a lot of this type of riding, I mean, you really, that's why I say it's like a great hybrid. You can really do just about anything with this bike. And at the price point, it has all the bells and whistles that you need. You know, for and they're all pretty quality parts, I would say, all around. So, you know, even with the Archon back when I had that and I was riding that around, it was a really solid bike. And this one, like I said, is basically almost an identical build, but maybe made a little bit more for like city riding, just in the features that it has. You know, like specifically with the turn signals, and definitely the sleek design of the bike. I definitely like that a lot. So definitely would recommend this bike. I'll make sure and put a link in the description below this video, so you guys can get a discount on this bike. Check it out, especially around Black Friday. I'm sure they're gonna have a sale around Christmas, all those things. So definitely worth checking out. I guarantee that whoever you get this bike for is gonna absolutely love it. I've loved riding it today. I've ridden it a few days up until this point, and just always had a great time on it. So really great ride all around. Definitely recommend. So without further ado, I think we're going to end this video here, but thank you for checking it out, and I will see you guys next time.